And this was done in your past approximately 11,000 of your years ago. And before that time, there was no moon. And before that time, there are records of there being no light in the darkness from the people that lived therein. And until that time, there was then the growth that led to the chaos. And from that time, out of darkness and chaos comes the light in the darkness that brings you back into reflection and marriage of your male and female and all your polarities within yourselves, so that you can become once again the reflective light and not go into chaos this time around. And it was so that it was. And this is the story of the engine of ascension that you call the moon. We thank you for allowing us to bring this story through this day of your time. It is timely that you now understand these things, for more and more and more data is now pouring in to what you would call your scientific circles, your astronomical circles, and there is now heightened realization that there are certain artificialities about the moon. Not that it is in and of itself an artificial body, but that it is a natural one converted artificially for certain purposes that are yet unknown to the majority of your planet. But many of your scientists are beginning to realize that it is not there by nature, but by purpose, intended for the rebalancing of the cycles on your planet. Though this is an understanding they have yet to know. But when the chambers shall be opened, in the pyramids and in the Sphinx upon your planet in the years to come in your near future, this will be understood. And as you also discover, when you move out to the planets in space, the same structures on your moon and the same structures on your Mars, you will understand your history and know your present and see your future. Again, we thank you for this opportunity of sharing and the great gift you give to our civilization in allowing us to communicate with you. In return for this gift at this time, I ask you, in what way may I and my world be of service to you? You may begin with sharing in any manner you so desire.
Good day, son.
And to you, good day.
In your opening statement, like always, we receive a lot of interesting information. In this case, I would like to ask you where the source of information came, because
I already told you. It came from the founders. I will not explain that further.
All right. Practically, I'm interested how this big object, moon, could be removed. What are the forces which move it?
There are electrogravitic implants within the body of the moon, deep within. They are discovered and registered on your instrumentation as what you have referred to as mascons. Massive concentrations deep within the body of the moon, about what you would call 20 miles below the surface, that are large disc-like objects that are responsible for creating a relocation of the gravitational matrix and moving the moon to its present location and regulating its orbit.
Thank you.
Yes.
Was Mars once moist and alive, as our probes are beginning to suggest? If so, what caused it to become arid? And what happened to the Earth probes sent to Mars that seem to have disappeared without a trace?
Yes, Mars, as you call it, was a habitable planet at one time, as you would understand habitable, and was inhabited at one time. There was a close pass by what you would call an asteroid that disrupted the climate and electromagnetic field of the planet to such a degree as to cause the dissipation of its atmosphere, the dissipation of its electromagnetic field, and the evaporation of much of its water, although much of it also remains locked in the crust.
How long ago was this that this occurred?
Millions of years, but not as long ago as your scientists might think.
maybe a few dozens of millions of years?
Not even.
Oh, okay.
Now, incarnationally, then the beings that used to incarnate on Mars began to incarnate on Earth as it became more habitable for that kind of incarnation.
What did they incarnate as? Humans or some other life form?
It began as the hominid species in that sense, but then when extraterrestrial genetic material was infused into the indigenous, naturally evolved hominid species, there was then created the human-like vessel that became more conducive to the kind of incarnations your spirits were used to. And thus then incarnations began, shall we say, in earnest at that time, a few million years ago.
From Mars?
Yes.
Okay.
That is the succession, in a sense, of incarnational experience. From what you call Maldek, which is the planet that was destroyed in between what you call Mars and Jupiter, to Mars, to Earth. That is the path of incarnational progression in this solar system of yours.
So you're referring to what we call the asteroid belt as the debris from the destruction of Maldek.
Yes.
And the beings that inhabited Maldek migrated, if you will, to Mars. Incarnationally. And then when that atmosphere and situation was destroyed, they migrated again incarnationally to Earth.
Yes. And the irony for those that incarnated on Mars is that the asteroid that made it impossible to inhabit came from the debris of Maldek, of the world they had inhabited before.
What caused the destruction of Maldek?
Passage too close to another body that entered the system.
Okay, it wasn't a result of their technological malfeasance.
No.
Okay, thank you.